What are nakshatras in Vedic astrology? Nakshatras are the ancient star divisions of the zodiac, deeply rooted in the astronomical sky and essential to Vedic astrology. Unlike the 12 zodiac signs that are solar in nature and seasonal, nakshatras are lunar divisions based on the moon's daily motion and the visible constellations. There are 27 primary nakshatras, each covering 13 degrees and 20 minutes of the 360-degree zodiac, forming the precise framework for lunar-based predictions. From a star perspective, each nakshatra corresponds to one or more fixed stars or visible star clusters. For instance, Rohini is anchored to Aldebaran, the red eye of Taurus, Magha is tied to Regulus, the brightest star in Leo, and Jyeshta links to Antares, the heart of the Scorpion. These are not symbolic associations. They are actual coordinates in the night sky that the ancients observed and codified into astrological meaning. This sky mapping method makes Vedic astrology one of the most astronomically accurate systems in the world. The moon, being the fastest moving planet in Vedic astrology, spends roughly one day in each nakshatra. This movement gives the nakshatras their emotional flavor. Your moon's nakshatra at birth is called your Janma Nakshatra, and it reveals your emotional nature, instincts, mental tendencies, and karmic imprint. This is why the nakshatra is central to dasha calculations, compatibility, and timing life events. What makes nakshatras so powerful is that each one is more than just a set of degrees. They are celestial fields of meaning. Every nakshatra has a ruling deity, a symbolic animal, a planetary ruler, and a specific psychological function or Shakti, power. These sky sectors act as energetic portals or karmic windows through which your destiny unfolds. The stars are not just background, they are active forces. Astronomically, the concept of nakshatras predates the 12-sign solar zodiac. Ancient Vedic seers used star risings and lunar conjunctions with fixed stars to determine sacred timings, agricultural cycles, and ceremonial rituals. This means that nakshatras originally evolved from a stellar calendar system, grounded in nature and sky observation, not just philosophy. Modern astronomy confirms the brilliance of this system. The positions of these star clusters still align with the nakshatra system, as Vedic astrology uses a sidereal, fixed star, zodiac, not a moving tropical one. So while Western astrology may say your moon is in Sagittarius, Vedic astrology might place it in Mula Nakshatra, at the galactic center, a powerful point of transformation and destruction. This connection to real stars means nakshatras help us reclaim the original astrology, where celestial bodies weren't abstract energies, but literal cosmic influences. As you watch the sky and track the moon, you're also tracking your mood, your karma, and your spiritual progress. That's the beauty of nakshatra-based astrology. It's emotional, ancient, predictive, and rooted in starlight. So when you look up at the night sky, remember, those constellations are not just stars. They're the living libraries of your soul's journey, encoded in the nakshatras. While Western astrology is based on the tropical zodiac, which aligns the signs with the seasons, Aries begins at the spring equinox, Vedic astrology uses the sidereal zodiac, which aligns the signs with the actual constellations in the sky. This creates a crucial divergence. Over centuries, due to the precession of the equinoxes, the tropical zodiac has drifted away from the fixed stars. In contrast, nakshatras remain firmly tied to the visible sky, preserving the original astronomical alignment. This means that in Western astrology, the focus is more solar, centered on sun sign traits, seasonal cycles, and psychological archetypes. But in Vedic astrology, nakshatras bring a deeper emotional and karmic precision, especially because they're tied to the moon's motion, which governs the mind, instincts, and subtle body. So while the sun represents identity, the moon reveals how we process life emotionally, and this is where nakshatras offer their richest insights. Another major distinction lies in predictive astrology. Western systems often rely on transits and progressions, but Vedic astrology uses the Vimshottari Dasha system, which is completely based on the nakshatra the moon occupied at birth. This Dasha system divides your life into planetary periods, unfolding like chapters in a karmic storybook. The moon's nakshatra determines not just how you feel, but what type of experiences you'll magnetize in certain phases of life. Moreover, each nakshatra has its own symbolism and mythic context, providing a layer of spiritual narrative absent in Western systems. For example, Ashwini is ruled by the twin horsemen, the Ashwini Kumaras, gods of healing and initiation. Bharani is ruled by Yama, the god of death and dharma. These aren't abstract figures. They represent archetypal energies that shape how you meet life's themes, like leadership, destruction, nurturing, or transcendence. Western astrology might tell you that your moon in Sagittarius makes you adventurous or philosophical, but Vedic astrology will ask, is it in Mula Nakshatra, with roots in destruction and transformation? Or in Purva Ashada, linked to Apa, the water goddess, and the power to purify and uplift? These distinctions go beyond personality. They speak to your soul's evolutionary intention. The nakshatras also add granularity to timing, known as muhurta, electional astrology. In Vedic traditions, no major life event, marriage, childbirth, business launch, is initiated without checking the moon's current nakshatra. This is because each nakshatra has a specific energy. Some are good for beginnings, others for endings, travel, warfare, or healing. Western astrology doesn't traditionally offer this kind of minute-by-minute cosmic mapping. Ultimately, the nakshatra system reflects the Vedic approach to life as a spiritual journey shaped by karma and dharma. It doesn't just tell you who you are, it tells you why you are here, what you're working through, and which divine archetype governs your path. In contrast, Western astrology often centers around psychological integration, whereas Vedic astrology, and nakshatras in particular, focuses on spiritual integration and karmic unfolding. In the modern age, as we seek more personalized, precise, and spiritually resonant tools of self-awareness, nakshatras are being rediscovered by students and seekers across the globe. Their power lies in their ability to blend astronomy, mythology, psychology, and karma, all through the lens of stars that have guided humanity for millennia. Nakshatras are not just tools for prediction. They are living blueprints of human nature, mapping everything from your psychological behavior and personality traits to your physical body type, emotional tendencies, and even the karmic lessons your soul has chosen for this lifetime. Each nakshatra acts like a cosmic fingerprint, offering multi-layered insight that goes far beyond what zodiac signs alone can reveal. At the most personal level, your Janma Nakshatra, the nakshatra where the moon was placed at the time of your birth, reflects your mind's conditioning, your emotional temperament, and your default mode of reacting to life. For example, someone born under Ashlasha may display intense emotional intelligence, secrecy, and coiled inner power, much like its serpent symbolism. On the other hand, someone with the moon in Pushya is naturally nurturing, devotional, and service-oriented, with a grounded and structured emotional core. From a body-based perspective, classical Vedic texts and nakshatra lore also describe physical attributes associated with each star segment. For instance, Bharani natives often have well-developed sensuous bodies, strong appetites, and intense magnetic eyes, reflecting their rulership by Venus and deity Yama, who governs life and death. Rohini natives, ruled by the moon and associated with growth and fertility, are typically attractive, charming, and physically well-proportioned, often drawing admiration effortlessly. But where nakshatras go even deeper is in their connection to the soul's evolutionary journey. Each nakshatra has a built-in Shakti, a unique power or capacity. This Shakti reveals what the soul is here to master or express in this incarnation. For example, Chitra Nakshatra has the Shakti to accumulate merit through righteous action, making its natives driven toward creative excellence and ethical leadership. Mula, ruled by Niriti, the goddess of dissolution, has the power to ruin or break apart, not as a curse, but as a soul-level calling to dismantle illusions and seek root truth. That's why nakshatras are often used in soul path readings, especially through D60, Shastyamsa, or Atmakaraka-based analysis, because they provide the mythic and karmic architecture beneath your physical reality. In fact, the ancient seers saw nakshatras as divine gateways, each one a portal between human life and cosmic intelligence. The deity, symbol, and story attached to a nakshatra are not just cultural myths. They are archetypal energies shaping your fate and free will. Nakshatras also inform our relationships and compatibility, not just through moon sign matching, but through deep energetic resonance. For example, the nakshatra-based Kuda system evaluates factors like mental compatibility Gana, emotional bonding Tara, and longevity of the bond Yoni. These aren't symbolic, they're based on how your emotional rhythms, shaped by your moon's nakshatra, flow with another's. A Chitra native might crave independence and intellectual stimulation, while a Revati person may seek softness and emotional depth. Even your vocation, talents, and ideal environment can be extracted from nakshatra analysis. Someone born under Shatabhisha, ruled by Rahu and linked with Varuna, is drawn toward medicine, healing, esoteric sciences, and working in solitary or unconventional environments. In contrast, a Magha native thrives in leadership roles tied to ancestry, legacy, and upholding tradition. These soul paths are not random. They are karmically designed via the nakshatra system. So when we say nakshatras reveal human nature, it's not just a surface-level personality sketch. It's an encoded map of your body, mind, soul, and destiny. It integrates physical form, emotional function, psychological structure, and spiritual blueprint, making it one of the most holistic tools in Vedic astrology. In essence, the nakshatras don't just describe who you are, they remind you of why you are here. The basics of Ardra Nakshatra. Ardra Nakshatra is the sixth lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, spanning from 6040 to 20 degrees 0 Gemini. It lies entirely within the air sign of Gemini, yet unlike the light and airy flavor of earlier Gemini nakshatras, Ardra carries a deep emotional intensity and transformative energy. The word Ardra means moist or tearful, symbolizing the stormy inner process of emotional catharsis, chaos, and eventual renewal. Its symbol is the teardrop, or a human head, representing grief, sensitivity, and awakening consciousness. Mythological deity, Ardra is ruled by Rudra, the fierce and stormy form of Lord Shiva. Rudra is the god of storms, thunder, and emotional purification. He represents destruction as a path to clarity, grief as a gate to healing, and chaos as a vehicle for transformation. The presence of Rudra makes Ardra a nakshatra that is emotionally raw, fearless, and unafraid to face inner or outer storms. Natives of Ardra often undergo deep personal upheavals that reshape their emotional, psychological, and spiritual core. Shakti, power. Ardra's Shakti is known as Yatna Shakti, the power to make efforts and achieve results through struggle. This nakshatra is about learning and growing through intense personal trials, emotional breakdowns, and hard-won victories. Ardra natives are here to break illusions, whether emotional, intellectual, or karmic. Their path is not smooth, but it is profoundly awakening. They often emerge from emotional storms with newfound clarity, insight, and resilience. The planetary ruler of Ardra is Rahu, which adds an edge of mystery, unconventional thinking, rebellion, and psychological intensity. Rahu's influence gives Ardra natives a desire to explore taboo topics, confront darker truths, or engage with non-traditional knowledge systems. Their minds are sharp, electric, and often drawn toward the futuristic, disruptive, or controversial. This placement fuels innovation, but it can also lead to inner conflict unless grounded in emotional awareness. Span and star reference. Span, 6 degree 40, 20 degrees Gemini. Star reference, Betelgeuse, Alpha Orionis. The left shoulder of the Orion constellation, Ardra stars form part of the radiant Orion, one of the most mythically rich and visible constellations in the sky. Betelgeuse, a red supergiant, aligns with Ardra's themes of massive transformation, explosive energy, and powerful internal fire. This gives Ardra its celestial connection to storms, warriors, and emotional revolution. The 4 padas of Ardra Nakshatra. Each pada of Ardra reflects different ways this nakshatra processes chaos and manifests emotional clarity, shaped by its Navamsa influence and underlying elemental flavor. Pada 1, 6-40 Tendu Gemini. Navamsa, Leo. Dispositor, Sun. Star reference, near Betelgeuse, Alpha Orionis. Nature, proud, expressive, emotionally intense. These individuals often have a dramatic emotional presence and may express their grief or growth through creative expression, performance, or public action. They carry storm energy with a need to be seen and validated. Pada 2, 10 Ziragru to 13-20 Gemini. Navamsa, Virgo. dispositor Mercury. Star reference near Bellatrix and other Orion stars. Nature, analytical, perfection-seeking, internally restless. This is the most analytical and mentally precise section of Ardra. These individuals tend to dissect their pain, seek logical frameworks to explain emotions, and may be drawn to psychology, healing, or research. Pada 3, 13-20 to 16-Rifa, Libra, dispositor Venus. Star reference Orion's arm span, linking expression and connection. Nature, diplomatic, emotionally intelligent, relational. Ardra's emotional depth softens here. These natives are often emotionally refined, expressive, and seek balance through art, partnerships, or social justice work. They blend emotional struggle with aesthetic sensitivity. Pada 4, 16-20 Gemini. Navamsa Scorpio, Mars, star reference Orion's belt region, powerful, direct, fierce. Nature, intense, private, emotionally transformative. This is the most cathartic and raw expression of Ardra. These individuals are deeply emotional, psychologically profound, and often undergo major life overhauls. They can become catalysts for transformation in others through their own emotional journeys. Ardra Nakshatra represents the storm before clarity, a powerful force of emotional evolution, spiritual cleansing, and inner awakening. Its natives are brave feelers, restless thinkers, and resilient survivors, born to pierce illusions and rise from emotional ashes. While they may face more than their share of inner chaos, they are here to shine with truth, not comfort, to transform pain into power, and to carry others through storms they've already mastered. Ardra Nakshatra characteristics. Ardra natives are intense, emotional, and mentally probing individuals who thrive on truth, transformation, and disruption. Ruled by Rahu and governed by Rudra, the fierce storm god form of Shiva, Ardra natives are often seen as emotional warriors, those who are unafraid to confront pain, challenge norms, and dive deep into psychological or existential questions. They carry an aura of depth and restlessness, and they are often called to transcend chaos by transforming it into clarity. Psychologically, Ardra individuals are complex, introspective, and emotionally layered. They are highly perceptive, capable of seeing through facades and understanding the hidden motives behind people's words or actions. But with this depth comes emotional volatility. Ardra natives often experience emotional storms, periods of grief, internal crisis, or upheaval that break old structures and force evolution. They are rarely shallow. Everything they do or feel has a sense of urgency and existential weight. Emotionally, they can be both vulnerable and fiercely private. They may not show their feelings openly, but their emotional body is constantly processing, reacting, and adapting. Many Ardra natives have learned to use sarcasm, wit, or detachment as coping mechanisms to deal with their inner intensity. When in balance, they are powerful empaths and compassionate truth-tellers. When imbalanced, they may come across as cold, cynical, or self-destructive. In relationships, Ardra individuals are intense, loyal, and deeply passionate, but they often need time and emotional space to navigate their internal tides. Their love language may not be flowery. Instead, they express affection through intellectual connection, radical honesty, and emotional courage. They seek partners who are emotionally intelligent, open to growth, and unafraid of depth. Emotional betrayal or superficiality can wound them deeply, and they may take time to rebuild trust. Creatively, Ardra is one of the most gifted nakshatras for cathartic expression. These individuals often excel in writing, acting, psychology, journalism, activism, or spiritual healing, where emotional rawness and authenticity are assets. Their creations are often gritty, honest, and transformational, reflecting the storms they have survived and the insights they've earned. They don't create to entertain. They create to reveal, awaken, heal. Professionally, Ardra natives are drawn to problem-solving, innovation, crisis management, or truth-seeking roles. They often enter fields where they can dig beneath the surface, challenge outdated systems, or support others through difficult transitions, like psychotherapy, investigative journalism, trauma therapy, occult sciences, or technological disruption. They thrive in intense, high-pressure, or emotionally charged environments, where their resilience becomes their power. Socially, they are reserved, observant, and highly intuitive. They may not be the loudest in a room, but they often notice the most. Their presence commands attention because they emit emotional gravity. People often sense that Ardra individuals have been through something. This often makes others turn to them in times of need, especially when things fall apart, as Ardra natives are natural crisis holders and rebirth facilitators. At a soul level, Ardra Nakshatra represents the alchemy of destruction and regeneration. These natives are not here to play it safe. They are here to walk into storms, break down what's false, and emerge as beacons of emotional truth and spiritual resilience. Their karmic path demands emotional courage, but rewards them with wisdom, power, and the ability to guide others through their own darkness. In a world seeking comfort, Ardra brings awakening. Planets in Ardra Nakshatra. When the sun is in Ardra Nakshatra, it creates individuals with a powerful internal drive and the courage to face chaos head-on. These natives often have a disruptive or reformative edge, bringing light to hidden issues or challenging outdated systems. Their leadership style is unconventional, bold, questioning, and emotionally fueled. However, the sun in Ardra can create ego turbulence if the native does not learn to balance self-expression with emotional regulation. At their best, they become catalysts for collective transformation, leading others through darkness with clarity and conviction. With the moon in Ardra, the emotional body is deep, stormy, and highly perceptive. These individuals feel everything intensely and may experience frequent emotional shifts or internal crises. Their moods can fluctuate rapidly, reflecting the storm energy of Rudra. They are empathetic and intuitive, but may need solitude and time to process their internal world. This placement often produces natural counselors, writers, or spiritual seekers, especially those who use emotional pain as fuel for self-awareness and creative insight. When Mars is in Ardra, it gives the native a fierce mental edge and explosive willpower. These individuals are sharp strategists, quick problem solvers, and often courageous in their pursuit of truth. Mars here combines with Rahu and Rudra's influence to create a warrior of the mind, someone who fights battles through words, knowledge, or innovation. However, the anger here can be volatile if not channeled, and the native may need to balance action with emotional intelligence. Properly aligned, they become fearless reformers or energetic healers. Mercury in Ardra thrives in its home sign of Gemini, but takes on a more intense, emotionally charged expression. These natives are sharp communicators, critical thinkers, and often excel in writing, research, or journalism. Their words carry power, and they are drawn to topics that involve controversy, taboo, or transformation. Mercury in Ardra can be sarcastic, probing, or cutting, and they must learn to use their voice to build, not just dismantle. When refined, this placement produces truth-telling messengers and innovative intellectuals. With Jupiter in Ardra, the wisdom-seeking impulse takes a radical, unconventional, and deeply transformative path. These individuals often reject traditional dogma in favor of experiential truth. They may go through philosophical or spiritual crises before emerging with profound insight. Jupiter here supports growth through emotional honesty and confrontation with shadow material. These natives make powerful spiritual guides, therapists, or educators, especially when they embrace both light and shadow as parts of wisdom. Venus in Ardra creates a powerful tension between desire and detachment, pleasure and pain. These individuals often experience karmic relationships marked by intensity, unpredictability, or emotional volatility. Their romantic nature is passionate, but layered with themes of loss, healing, or reinvention. They are drawn to mystical or rebellious aesthetics, often expressing beauty through edgy or cathartic mediums, like transformative art, fashion, or music. Venus here learns to refine desire through truth and evolution. Saturn in Ardra brings emotional heaviness, delayed maturation, and karmic trials related to grief, abandonment, or emotional suppression. These individuals may face early life suffering or emotional responsibility that forces them to grow up fast. However, Saturn in Ardra also provides deep resilience, spiritual discipline, and long-term mastery of emotional truth. These natives may become psychotherapists, social justice leaders, or crisis management experts, those who can hold space for chaos and rebuild what has been broken. Rahu, the ruler of Ardra, placed in this nakshatra amplifies the desire for intense experience, emotional disruption, and boundary-pushing knowledge. These natives are drawn to taboo topics, spiritual extremes, or psychological exploration. Rahu here creates insatiable curiosity, but also emotional volatility if not grounded. These individuals often seek to transform themselves and others through unconventional paths, such as metaphysics, psychedelics, activism, or technology. When conscious, they become fearless visionaries of emotional and social change. Ketu in Ardra suggests past life immersion in intense emotional experiences, destruction, or renunciation. In this life, these natives may feel detached from emotional drama, yet still drawn to understanding human suffering. They have a quiet, stoic demeanor and a spiritual depth that stems from experiencing inner storms without losing center. Ketu here gives a gift of emotional neutrality and insight, making the native a natural guide for others' healing journeys, especially through writing, meditation, or silent presence. Across all planetary placements, Ardra acts as an emotional crucible, a nakshatra that forces each planet to confront, unravel, and ultimately transcend illusion. Whether through intellect, relationships, action, or emotion, planets in Ardra must undergo catharsis to unlock their full power, making this one of the most karmically intense yet spiritually liberating zones in the zodiac. The basics of Swati Nakshatra is the 15th lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, spanning from 6°40 to 20°00 Libra. The name Swati means the independent one or the self-going, capturing its essence of movement, flexibility, and subtle influence. Its primary symbol is a young shoot or blade of grass swaying in the wind, representing grace, adaptability, and resilience. Swati natives possess an innate ability to bend with life's winds without breaking, thriving through self-direction and internal balance rather than confrontation or rigidity. The deity associated with Swati is Vayu, the god of wind. Vayu governs motion, breath, and the unseen forces that support life, lending Swati natives a personality that is light, clever, and mobile, both mentally and physically. Just as wind adapts to all forms, yet is bound by none, Swati-born individuals seek freedom in all areas of life, including relationships, belief systems, and work. They are rarely static, and their soul path often includes learning how to navigate transitions, changes, and expansions with grace. Swati's Shakti is Pradvamsa Shakti, the power to scatter or disperse. This grants the ability to break apart what no longer serves, dissolve illusions, and transform rigidity into flow. Rather than confront resistance head-on, Swati uses movement, strategy, and timing to glide through obstacles. This Shakti makes Swati an excellent nakshatra for innovation, negotiation, and gentle disruption of outdated systems, where the goal isn't to destroy but to refresh and redirect energy. The planetary ruler of Swati is Rahu, which brings a karmic urge toward exploration, unconventional growth, and worldly accomplishment. Rahu intensifies Swati's craving for novelty, expansion, and experience beyond the ordinary. This can manifest as a hunger for fame, success, or mastery in intellectual or creative fields, especially those that allow movement, communication, or independence. However, Rahu also adds restlessness and illusion, requiring the native to mature through discernment, humility, and patience. Located entirely in the sign of Libra, Swati expresses itself through the Venusian qualities of diplomacy, balance, and relational elegance. Yet unlike the other Libra nakshatras, Swati is the most individualistic. It seeks harmony not to please others, but to protect its own inner peace. Natives are often charming and refined, yet internally fiercely autonomous. Their journey involves reconciling the desire for social acceptance with the soul's need for independence and inner authenticity. Swati natives are usually intelligent, curious, and socially versatile. They have a gift for communication and persuasion, which makes them excellent in careers like media, law, business, writing, or spiritual teaching. Their mental acuity and detached emotional style allow them to navigate complex social situations with grace. However, they must be cautious not to become too scattered or superficial, as the wind-like nature of Swati can pull their energy in too many directions, unless focused by intentional grounding. In relationships, Swati individuals are affectionate and fair, but deeply protective of their space and identity. They enjoy companionship, but may resist emotional dependency or long-term enmeshment. Freedom within structure is key for their romantic satisfaction. They often attract partners who value intellectual rapport and personal freedom. However, their karmic growth lies in learning how to trust intimacy without fearing loss of independence, blending their airy detachment with emotional presence. At a soul level, Swati Nakshatra represents the sacred wind of evolution, the breath that inspires, the breeze that liberates, and the force that adapts all things to a higher order. These individuals are here to learn the art of graceful movement through life, to dissolve what no longer serves, and to influence the world not through control, but through intelligence, alignment, and freedom. Their karmic mission is to embody the wisdom of the wind, subtle yet powerful, soft yet unyielding. Swati Nakshatra characteristics. Swati Nakshatra natives are independent, adaptable, and intellectually refined, individuals who are driven by an inner desire to grow freely, experience widely, and influence subtly. Ruled by Rahu and presided over by Vayu, the wind god, they embody the qualities of movement, breath, and mental expansion. Like the wind, they are hard to grasp, forever flowing, curious, and self-directed. They dislike confinement of any kind, whether it be social norms, rigid beliefs, or emotional entanglements, and thrive when given the space to explore, evolve, and express on their own terms. Psychologically, Swati individuals are restless thinkers, diplomatic communicators, and detached observers. Their minds are sharp and capable of absorbing vast ideas across various domains, particularly those related to philosophy, metaphysics, law, technology, and international thought. They prefer to take in information from all sides before forming conclusions, and they value intellectual flexibility over ideological certainty. Because of this, they can often appear non-committal or evasive, though they are simply gathering insight before acting. In relationships, Swati natives seek companionship that supports their need for autonomy. They are romantic but not clingy, loyal but not possessive. Their style of love is airy, based on mutual understanding, mental resonance, and personal freedom. They enjoy partnership but need space to remain whole within it. If pushed emotionally or boxed in by expectations, they may withdraw or disconnect. Their growth lies in learning to balance connection with independence, and in expressing emotional truth rather than avoiding discomfort. Creatively, Swati individuals are drawn to language, writing, aesthetics, and negotiation. They have a gift for communicating difficult ideas gently, and their minds are often tuned to subtle emotional cues. This makes them exceptional in media, branding, spiritual teaching, healing arts, and diplomacy. Their creations often feel elegant, light, and impactful, carrying the wisdom of detachment and the power of refined perspective. Even when working in the background, they influence others through tone, timing, and quiet intelligence. Socially, Swati natives are charming, well-mannered, and socially agile, able to adapt to various groups without losing their individual essence. They often maintain a wide social network, but reserve their innermost selves for a select few. While they are not overtly dramatic or attention-seeking, they draw others in through poise, insight, and tactful expression. Their sense of fairness and objectivity makes them trusted intermediaries in conflict or negotiations, and people often seek their advice in both personal and professional matters. Emotionally, they tend to remain cool, self-contained, and mentally processed, preferring rational analysis over emotional expression. They don't easily express vulnerability and may retreat into solitude when overwhelmed. However, beneath this composed exterior lies a sensitive nervous system that absorbs subtle cues and needs space to regulate. Emotional strength for Swati comes not from intensity, but from clarity, detachment, and inner truth. Their challenges include indecisiveness, escapism, and fear of deep emotional exposure. Swati natives may struggle with commitment, not due to lack of love, but due to their deep need to stay emotionally unbound. They can become scattered, overly idealistic, or addicted to novelty if not grounded. However, when rooted in spiritual practice or conscious self-awareness, they become agents of conscious change, unafraid to shift the winds when truth calls for it. At a soul level, Swati Nakshatra embodies the breath of cosmic intelligence moving through human will. These natives are here to teach that true influence doesn't require force. It comes through timing, clarity, and movement. Their karmic role is to break down what's rigid, spread ideas with grace, and model the sacred art of freedom through form. Swati's wind doesn't just scatter, it clears space for new life to begin. Planets in Swati Nakshatra. When the sun is placed in Swati, it creates individuals who seek to shine through intellectual freedom, social harmony, and self-defined purpose. These natives possess a quiet charisma and diplomatic poise, and they often gain recognition through negotiation, cultural fluency, or innovative leadership. Their identity is rooted in independence and fairness, and they may resist traditional authority unless it aligns with their personal ethics. If imbalanced, the sun here can express as ego fragility masked by superficial charm. In balance, it gives rise to ethical, adaptable leaders who inspire through subtle influence rather than dominance. The moon in Swati brings an emotional nature that is mentally driven, curious, and socially graceful. These individuals crave emotional freedom and peace, and often keep a calm and composed exterior, even when they're internally processing many layers. They are highly emotionally intuitive, especially in social settings, but may struggle to fully open up in intimate relationships unless they feel emotionally safe and respected. If imbalanced, the moon in Swati can result in emotional detachment, avoidance, or superficial bonding. When aligned, it produces empathetic, insightful counselors and emotionally intelligent communicators. With Mars in Swati, action is tempered by strategy, diplomacy, and timing. These natives are not impulsive fighters, but calculated responders, often channeling their ambition into business, law, negotiation, or performance arts. Mars here gives sharp intellect, strong adaptability, and drive for personal excellence, but can also result in passive aggression or delayed action if not focused. When evolved, Mars in Swati becomes a refined warrior, one who wins battles through grace, cleverness, and careful observation. Mercury in Swati makes for eloquent, persuasive, and clever individuals who can talk their way into or out of any situation. These natives are highly skilled in speech, debate, diplomacy, and marketing, and often excel in careers related to media, communication, law, or psychology. Mercury here enhances social versatility and intellectual detachment, but may also create a tendency to talk more than act or rationalize emotional truths. In strength, Mercury in Swati produces brilliant communicators, clever negotiators, and idea-driven visionaries. Jupiter in Swati gives a hunger for knowledge, expansion, and spiritual growth through independent exploration. These individuals may not follow orthodox paths, but are deeply philosophical in their own right. Jupiter here often favors unconventional wisdom, foreign studies, intercultural philosophy, or progressive social ideals. If imbalanced, it can create spiritual dilettantes or self-righteous reformers. When mature, this placement produces visionary teachers, bridge builders, and seekers who channel global ideas into local change. Venus in Swati is graceful, artistic, and relationship-oriented, but deeply values space and emotional independence within union. These individuals exude charm, elegance, and refined taste, often succeeding in fashion, performing arts, aesthetics, or international business. In love, they are romantic and thoughtful, but require emotional room to breathe, and may struggle with commitment if the relationship feels limiting. When elevated, Venus in Swati creates magnetic lovers, cultural artists, and peacemakers who uplift others through beauty and balance. Saturn in Swati lends structure to the mind and discipline to the social self, but not without karmic challenges. These individuals may experience delayed progress, social anxiety, or fear of disapproval, especially in their youth. However, Saturn here teaches how to earn respect, build inner strength, and find personal authority through detachment and maturity. With effort, this placement produces deeply fair, thoughtful leaders who balance freedom with responsibility. If afflicted, it can lead to emotional coldness or avoidance of intimacy in the name of self-control. With Rahu in Swati, the soul is driven to explore, expand, and transcend boundaries, especially in areas of intellect, identity, or social standing. These individuals may crave recognition for their originality, often pushing the limits of culture, language, or social norms. Rahu in Swati is experimental and mentally sharp, but may struggle with restlessness, identity instability, or chronic dissatisfaction. When spiritually refined, this placement produces trendsetters, reformers, and cross-cultural visionaries who reshape the world through words and ideas. K2 in Swati indicates past life experiences with mental mastery, social diplomacy, or worldly sophistication, now seeking detachment from external validation. These individuals may seem aloof, deeply philosophical, or spiritually unanchored, often craving inner peace after lives spent in high-paced, mentally active roles. K2 in Swati grants deep insight into language, symbolism, and subtle energies, but can also lead to isolation or indecisiveness. When awakened, they become subtle guides, wisdom keepers, and silent reformers who teach not by preaching, but by exemplifying balance and flow. Planets placed in Swati are shaped by the winds of freedom, finesse, and flexible strength. Each graha here must learn to express itself through balance, social elegance, and adaptive strategy, rather than control or rigidity. Swati teaches that true success lies not in overpowering others, but in moving with the currents of change and planting seeds of truth that grow over time, carried gently on the breath of subtle influence. The basics of Shatabhisha Nakshatra. Shatabhisha Nakshatra is the 24th lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, spanning from 6 degrees 40 to 20 degrees 0 Aquarius. The name Shatabhisha translates to 100 physicians or 100 healers, reflecting its deep connection to healing, secrecy, and solitary transformation. Its symbol is the empty circle, signifying containment, mysticism, and the invisible yet powerful cycles of the cosmos. Shatabhisha is a nakshatra of mystery, restoration, and inner rebellion, where truth is revealed not through light, but through piercing the darkness of illusion. The ruling deity of Shatabhisha is Varuna, the Vedic god of cosmic law, morality, and hidden truths. Varuna governs the unseen, karma, ethics, and the vast waters of the subconscious. His presence grants Shatabhisha natives an intrinsic connection to what lies beneath the surface, making them seekers of truth, reformers, and guardians of sacred order. They are often drawn to the hidden mechanisms of life, astrology, science, metaphysics, or spiritual healing, and may carry the karmic task of restoring what has been lost, broken, or misused. The Shakti of Shatabhisha is Bheshaja Shakti, the power of healing. But this is not soft, nurturing healing. It is the medicine of solitude, detox, rupture, and repair. Shatabhisha natives are capable of profound psychic and energetic healing, but the path often begins with personal breakdowns, isolation, or existential questioning. They are alchemists of crisis, those who walk through storms in order to clear the path for others. The healing they offer is rooted in truth, not comfort, in clarity, not avoidance. Ruled by Rahu, Shatabhisha carries a distinctly unconventional and paradoxical energy. There is a rebellious hunger for truth and innovation, coupled with an internal pull toward retreat and introspection. Rahu's influence makes these natives futuristic, skeptical, and radically independent in thought. They may reject superficial spiritual traditions or social norms, preferring paths of discovery forged through personal trial and revelation. The challenge lies in grounding this radical energy, transcending confusion and illusion to become a vessel of meaningful transformation. Entirely contained within Aquarius, Shatabhisha blends Saturn's structure with Rahu's disruption, producing a nakshatra that is both visionary and detached. Aquarius gives it humanitarian ideals and mental brilliance, while Rahu fuels a relentless search for deeper purpose, especially beyond traditional boundaries. This makes Shatabhisha natives uniquely positioned to challenge institutions, question beliefs, and pioneer new modalities of science, healing, or spiritual consciousness. Those born under Shatabhisha are often mystics, scientists, inventors, or spiritual loners, individuals who carry a private world of complexity beneath a cool or detached surface. They are intuitive, intense, and driven by an inner code that defies easy definition. They may work in healing professions, alternative medicine, technology, psychology, or esoteric arts, any field where depth, precision, and the unseen play central roles. Their greatest contributions often occur in silence or behind the scenes, but they leave a lasting impact on the systems they touch. Challenges for Shatabhisha include isolation, emotional detachment, or escapism into addictive, obsessive, or hyper-rational patterns. Their healing journey often demands confrontation with shadow, acceptance of imperfection, and integration of the very emotions they seek to analyze or avoid. They must learn that strength is not in retreat alone, but in emerging from solitude with something authentic to offer. Their evolution is in moving from rebellion to restoration, from secrecy to sacred transparency. At a soul level, Shatabhisha Nakshatra represents the sacred void, the healer who dwells in the unseen, the scientist of spirit, the ascetic of truth. These individuals are here to uncover hidden systems, restore cosmic integrity, and dismantle illusions that block healing. Their karmic role is to become transparent vessels for transformation, walking alone not out of alienation, but to preserve the sanctity of clarity. They remind the world that deep healing often requires silence, that truth comes through breakdown, and that the invisible has its own light. Shatabhisha Nakshatra characteristics. Shatabhisha Nakshatra natives are enigmatic, inwardly intense, and profoundly attuned to the invisible realms of life. Governed by Rahu and presided over by Varuna, the deity of cosmic order and the unseen, they carry an inherent connection to the mystical, the scientific, and the forbidden. These individuals often walk between worlds, fiercely rational yet highly intuitive, socially distant, yet karmically entwined with collective healing. They are drawn to secrecy, detachment, and truth that exists beneath the surface. Whether as researchers, healers, rebels, or mystics, they embody the archetype of the solitary visionary, those who question everything and trust only what they've proven in solitude. Psychologically, Shatabhisha natives are analytical, observant, and quietly intense. Their minds are constantly probing, seeking the roots of dysfunction, whether in a body, a system, or the soul. They often experience phases of deep isolation, existential inquiry, or emotional rupture, especially in early life. While their exterior may seem cool or dispassionate, they are internally processing complex patterns of thought and intuition. Their mental brilliance lies not in surface-level cleverness, but in their ability to detect what others cannot see, be it in science, psychology, energy, or karma. In relationships, these individuals are loyal yet private, needing space to maintain their emotional and psychic integrity. They are not easy to access emotionally, as their default mode is internal processing rather than emotional sharing. They may struggle with intimacy unless they feel spiritually or intellectually safe. At their best, they form bonds that are transformational, rooted in shared purpose or healing. However, when unbalanced, they may oscillate between aloofness and hidden emotional intensity, or attract partners who mirror their unresolved need for personal freedom versus connection. Creatively, Shatabhisha excels in disciplines that require deep focus, innovation, and the ability to work behind the scenes. These natives may thrive in alternative medicine, astrology, energy work, systems thinking, technology, or investigative research. Their creative output often arises in solitude, under pressure, or after periods of inner crisis. They are drawn to what is unseen, frequencies, codes, archetypes, or rituals, and often use their creative intelligence to restore broken patterns or uncover hidden truths. Their work tends to have a mystical or reformative undertone. Socially, they tend to be reclusive or selective, avoiding superficiality or group conformity. They may appear detached, intense, or unconventional, but they often carry deep integrity and insight. While not always comfortable in large social settings, they are capable of influencing group consciousness in subtle yet profound ways, especially when aligned with healing or reform. Their social path often involves working alone or on the fringes of society until they integrate their uniqueness and are able to serve with greater detachment and neutrality. Emotionally, Shatabhisha natives are complex and often hidden. Their emotional wounds can run deep, especially if tied to betrayal, secrecy, or karmic retribution. They may avoid vulnerability for fear of being misunderstood or misused. Yet when they embrace their emotional truth, especially through healing disciplines or spiritual service, they become powerful emotional alchemists. Their inner world is where they wrestle with cosmic themes of law, justice, guilt, and redemption. With maturity, they learn to hold emotional space for others not through sympathy, but through depth, stillness, and unshakable presence. Challenges for Shatabhisha include escapism, emotional suppression, or retreating too far into isolation. Their shadow can manifest as obsession with control, over-reliance on logic, or using spirituality to bypass real emotional work. They must guard against using solitude as a defense rather than a path. True healing for them lies in integration. embracing their human vulnerability without sacrificing their spiritual detachment. When this balance is achieved, they become fearless healers, system restorers, and truth tellers. At a soul level, Shatabhisha Nakshatra represents the sacred loner, the one who heals through distance, who teaches through silence, and who carries the burden of unseen truth. These individuals are here to dismantle illusion, to hold space for collective healing, and to restore the invisible order of things. Their karmic mission is not to be understood, but to understand, not to be loved by the masses, but to love truth more than comfort. They remind us that the soul's deepest healing often happens in solitude, and that the cosmos speaks loudest in the quietest parts of ourselves. Planets in Shatabhisha Nakshatra. When the sun is in Shatabhisha, it produces individuals with a hidden core of power and purpose. These natives often reject traditional notions of authority, instead forging a unique path built on internal principles and cosmic alignment. Their identity is tied to deep questioning, transformation, and a search for truth beyond appearances. They may initially feel invisible or misunderstood, yet they are destined to emerge as silent influencers, healers, or reformers. If unevolved, the sun here can manifest as secrecy, rebellion against authority, or inner fragmentation. When matured, it creates radiant yet humble leaders who restore truth through quiet revolution. With the moon in Shatabhisha, emotional life is profound, private, and often interwoven with the themes of healing, karmic burden, and isolation. These individuals feel deeply but express selectively, often processing emotions through silence, ritual, or internal logic. The moon here tends to attract periods of solitude, psychic awareness, or emotional detachment, especially early in life. If unbalanced, it may create emotional coldness, escapism, or hypersensitivity masked as aloofness. In its higher form, the moon in Shatabhisha gives rise to intuitive empaths and emotionally disciplined healers who channel cosmic waters into grounded compassion. Mars in Shatabhisha gives rise to strategic, intense, and often solitary warriors. These individuals act with calculated force, preferring precision over aggression. Mars here is often expressed through technological skill, alternative healing, or spiritual disciplines that demand inner control. They may wrestle with internal anger, repressed drive, or delayed assertion, but once aligned, their power is focused and transformative. If afflicted, it can result in isolated rage or compulsive action without clarity. When evolved, Mars in Shatabhisha becomes a force of silent protection, surgical precision, and fierce devotion to truth. Mercury in Shatabhisha produces minds that are investigative, analytical, and often unconventional. These individuals think in systems, codes, or subtle languages, drawn to esoteric knowledge, metaphysics, or reformist logic. They communicate with restraint, often valuing depth over volume. Mercury here can create skeptical thinkers who challenge the status quo or who require solitude to think clearly. If unevolved, it may lead to detachment, over-intellectualization, or mistrust in dialogue. In its mature state, this placement manifests as the scholar healer, intuitive diagnostician, or visionary communicator who reveals hidden patterns with clarity. Jupiter in Shatabhisha seeks wisdom through unconventional, solitary, or healing pathways. These individuals are not interested in blind faith. They want truth that has been tested, felt, and proven. Jupiter here can bless the native with insight into karmic law, spiritual healing, or scientific spirituality. Their teachers may come in unusual forms, through illness, crisis, or silence. If unbalanced, this placement may produce cynicism, spiritual isolation, or distrust in traditional authority. When integrated, Jupiter in Shatabhisha births philosophical visionaries who rebuild spiritual frameworks from the inside out. Venus in Shatabhisha is refined, mystical, and often emotionally complex. These individuals seek love that is transformational, often experiencing karmic relationships that act as healing catalysts. They may be drawn to partners who are wounded, distant, or spiritually deep. Venus here loves in silence from a place of service or soul resonance rather than surface passion. If immature, it may manifest as emotional detachment, idealization, or relational withdrawal. When evolved, Venus in Shatabhisha expresses as sacred intimacy, partnerships that heal, uplift, and evolve through unconditional presence and energetic purity. Saturn in Shatabhisha creates a karmic life path of solitude, deep service, and eventual mastery over invisible systems. These individuals often face delays, hardships, or health crises that lead them to profound wisdom. Saturn here demands that healing be earned, not through shortcuts, but through patient inner work and ethical alignment. If afflicted, this can manifest as chronic isolation, cynicism, or repression. In its higher form, Saturn in Shatabhisha produces stoic healers, system reformers, and silent pillars of spiritual order who rebuild what has collapsed with timeless discipline. With Rahu in Shatabhisha, there is a karmic drive to seek forbidden knowledge, disrupt broken systems, or attain healing power through unconventional means. These natives are drawn to technology, science, metaphysics, or secretive spiritual work. They often push boundaries, challenge taboos, and explore paths others fear to tread. If unevolved, Rahu here may manifest as rebellion without clarity, manipulation, or addiction to secrecy and control. When evolved, it creates the visionary outsider, the one who brings cosmic medicine to a society lost in illusion, even if they must do so from the margins. Ketu in Shatabhisha suggests past life mastery of healing, mysticism, or scientific knowledge that now seeks deeper detachment from ego and identity. These individuals may be instinctively solitary, intuitively aware, and uninterested in external validation. They may feel alienated from conventional relationships or institutions, gravitating towards spiritual disciplines, renunciation, or invisible service. If unbalanced, it may produce emotional numbness, nihilism, or over-withdrawal. When awakened, Ketu in Shatabhisha becomes the detached sage, the one who heals through energy, silence, and alignment with cosmic intelligence. Planets in Shatabhisha Nakshatra must find expression through seclusion, truth-telling, and radical healing. This is a nakshatra of rupture and repair, where the ego dissolves so the soul can restore balance. Whether expressed through intellect, medicine, solitude, or rebellion, each graha in Shatabhisha is asked to serve a deeper order, one that is not seen but felt. These natives are not here to conform, they are here to cleanse the unseen, reveal the forgotten, and heal what society fears to face.